Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo is a fantasy novel and is a heist thriller taking place in her Grishaverse. I didn't know this at the time, but she wrote a trilogy of books before this book. This takes place in the same sort of universe. I picked up the sequel at a book sale for $1. I didn't know, so I had to read this one first. Anyways, Six of Crows is about Kaz Brekker. He is a young, around 17-year-old, I think, criminal prodigy known as Dirty Hands, because he's always willing to get his hands dirty. Kaz is propositioned by the Council of Merchants in order to break free a scientist from another country's super fortress. So in order to do so, he's going to have to gather a group of criminals and rogues, all different variations of different kinds of people. The Six of Crows, the title. So there's Kaz, but there's also the Wraith. She is a Assassin's Creed style thief of sorts, a spy assassin who climbs things, parkour master of sorts. Then there's Wylan, he's a demolitions expert that they grab. Jesper is a gambling addict, but is also a sharpshooter. And then there's another guy they have to break out of prison named Matthias. And there's also Nina. She is a heart render. Different people in this book have powers. They have different usages. So like Squallers can control wind. You got Tide Makers can control water. As being a heart render, she can control the bodily functions. So this crew of criminals have to try to break free this scientist because he has the secret to a special formula that enhances any Grisha and their powers, making the world a more dangerous place. So let's start with what I liked about this novel. It's a very fast-paced book. It's not too long. It was a quick read. Flippant, quick dialogue. Characters clash. They'll have their wants and needs. It wasn't like hard to read, but it's also very fleeting, I felt. There wasn't much in terms of themes, in terms of stakes or tension or development, things like that. It's just basically a crew of criminals trying to do a job, and then they do the job. And then they throw in some flashbacks and character motivations later, which I felt was a little odd for the pacing because usually you put that stuff in the middle, but they sort of shafted it all at the end. So you get a lot of like divulging of the backstories later on during the novel. The superpower aspect I felt was a little underutilized. There are characters in this book that show up and attack our heroes, and then they're gone within a few pages, and they're not really like explored. Action sequences aren't really like fleshed out. It's basically just a sort of, people are, shooting at us, or the people are using powers against us. Action scene over. Kind of like that. And basically, could have used a little bit more character development, or just not character development, but like, I felt like, there wasn't much of the story besides, we need to do this heist. We all want to have our wants and needs. We're going to do this heist. I think the biggest problem I have with the book is that it doesn't have a resolute ending. It's just a straight up cliffhanger ending so they can write the next book. I didn't like that at all. I kind of wanted like a complete story, and then if there's time for a sequel, sure. But this one kind of leaves things off without completing everything, and I didn't like that. Other than that though, besides the powers not seeming to be very useful, the book has plenty of twists. It's a quick read. It's enjoyable, but I just didn't like how it wasn't really complete. A lot of people there's a lot of hype for this book, and I felt like it was okay. So I'm obviously going to read the sequel because I already own it, but we'll see how that goes.